Hi guys, my name is Tessa Shelton. I'm sorry to do my presentation this way, but I figured I would spare you guys the misfortune of hearing how annoying and pretentious my voice can be when I'm trying not to be nervous in front of a group of people. So, I researched social anxiety, particularly in school-aged children like elementary school. And to start off, social anxiety is also known as social anxiety disorder, ironically acronymed SAD, or social phobia. It is the fear of social situations that involve interaction with other people, or, like the fear and anxiety of being judged and evaluated by other people. It is the third largest psychological problem in the United States, and it affects approximately 15 million Americans. Of those 15 million Americans, 90% of them are misdiagnosed the first time they go to get help. If they ever do go get help, most of them don't. Of those 15 million people, 40% of them begin to experience their social phobias before the age of 10, and an additional 55%, 95% total, begin to experience it before age 20. So it mostly appears in adolescence. That's when it usually begins to manifest itself. In children, for social anxiety, some symptoms we're looking for are poor eye contact, speaking very softly or saying very little or sometimes even nothing when they're in school. They'll frequently claim to be ill or, just refuse to go to school under any, context whatsoever. They have very severe test anxiety, and they'll appear very anxious when they're the center of attention, so like at a birthday party or if they're getting an award or something like that. They have an unwillingness to participate in class activities such as show and tell or raising their hand to answer a question, things like that. It's not unusual to see them constantly alone or on the edge of a social group on the playground or at lunch. Oftentimes they have only one or two friends at a time rather than several, maybe a couple of acquaintances, but genuine friends, only one or two. And they'll spend a lot of time alone in their rooms, playing video games, reading, drawing, whatever it is they like to do. They worry excessively about being evaluated or judged, which I think is a very adult worry, so it's strange to see that in children under 10. And sometimes they'll experience something called selective mutism. This basically means that they will refuse to speak, or they have sometimes even the inability to speak around people outside of a certain social group, which typically tends to be the immediate family. So they just won't talk to anybody, or they can't. They just get too anxious. It's something interesting I found while I was researching. Some emerging research suggests that a source of the problem may be the inability of the child to appropriately perceive facial clues. So, for example, they may confuse an angry face for a sad one. So, if they were to do that, they may approach somebody with, the incorrect approach for the particular situation, and they might get a rather unpleasant response, and that can certainly lead a child to get anxious and, very nervous about speaking to strangers after something like that. So some risks. Children have an increased risk of alcoholism, drug abuse, developing further psychological problems, or even committing suicide as they grow older if it's not addressed in some form or fashion, or if it's not if their parents don't help them out where they can. It can just lead to some pretty severe problems down the road, especially in their teenage years and their early 20s. Treatment. In adults, we're looking at cognitive behavioral therapy mostly. It's the main thing that's been proven to show long-lasting relief or even cures. Sometimes in some severe cases, some antidepressants will be prescribed along with that. They used to give people beta blockers, which kind of stop the physical symptoms of anxiety, but they don't really do that anymore because it doesn't really address the problem mentally. In kids, you can take them to see a child psychologist or a psychiatrist, any kind of mental health for children and adolescents. A big part of it, though, is parent involvement. They can, read books aloud about the topic to their kids, or they can, share their own socially anxious experiences, let them know that it's okay to feel that way, how they address the issue, etc. They can encourage their kids to confront the issue, very little doable steps at a time, so that they can hopefully overcome that fear, that anxiety on their own before it becomes too severe. It's usually an important step to involve teachers in the proposed treatment plans, because that way, they can keep an eye on them at school, make sure that, everything's going as it should be, that, they're not pushed too far or too little. Prevention. Social anxiety disorder is generally the result of a combination of a genetic predisposition and environmental triggers. So it's not unusual for either one or both parents to have been socially anxious at one point in their life if they aren't still. So parents can influence the progression of the social phobia by being a good role model. So this means that for socially anxious parents, it may even involve fighting their own social anxiety disorder in order to improve the lives of their children. So hope you enjoyed my little live PowerPoint.